you're doing it very, very well. So this is part 2 on the marriage series that I've been starting. It's not going to be a long series, so don't worry. If you are enjoying it, sorry, but if you're not, don't worry about it. Please do like, comment, and subscribe below if you like these videos, and we'll get on right to it. About how dating, what you should be looking for when you're dating, especially if you're looking for a Christian marriage. So if anyone, you're not a Christian and you're not saved, you can watch this if you'd like. If you're not, obviously you don't have to, but I will be specifically talking about people that are Christians and want to marry someone, within the church, etc. Telling you guys the things I would look out for. So some of the examples was making sure you don't forget yourself while dating, ensuring that you're still enjoying the process and not only just thinking about, looking for someone even when you go to events. And the next thing is knowing that what you want. So having a list of what you actually want in a person, and not having too much of a long list, that's crazy, but not having too much of a short list also, that's like not too detailed enough. Making sure you have your core values in there, so things like religion, obviously their morals, their character is important, family values, having children, etc. So things that are very core, making sure that you don't lose those in the process and just leave them out because you think, oh, I like this person even though they don't have like more of my core values. That's not a good thing to do. Also talking about how praying is very important, praying over the situation, making sure that you ask God to reveal your husband or wife to you. If you're also in a situation where you think that the physical attributes of a person are blinding you, praying over that to ask the Lord to reveal anything that might be in you that needs to be removed. And also on making sure that you enjoy the process, not rushing to marry, actually dating the person, actually getting to know the person, not ignoring any red flags that you might see, things like that. So we talked a few things kind of in depth in the first episode regarding dating. So in this episode, I'm just going to continue in terms of marriage and some of the things I experienced in like my first year of marriage. And it's just from my own experience, so don't think that this is gospel, but just an advice in terms of what you should do when you go through your first year. It's usually the hardest, and a lot of people get divorced within a year of marriage. I do very much believe that this is something spiritual because the enemy does not like anything of God, so henceforth marriage is of God. He will want to destroy that. So if you have a spiritual understanding that this is not just a game, this is not just a piece of paper, this is not just a party that we're going to with family and friends, this is a covenant, this is of God, as the Lord drives his church as his bride. One thing I found in our first year of marriage was I think I took some of the conflicts very seriously. Like I did find, I spoke in the other video, that when we had an argument, for me it felt like, oh, it's the end of the world, like we're divorcing, what's happening? And I think it's for me because it was kind of a response, like a protective response on my part. Like I don't like conflict at all, and I think once conflict was happening consistently, I felt something must be wrong, something's going to happen, like we must be going to divorce, we must be leading us to divorce, this conflict constantly. And it's only when he asked me, have you ever wanted to leave me? And I said, yes, I have. And he said, no, I've never. Which I don't know whether to believe or not, but my husband's quite an honest man, sometimes honest to a fault. And I will believe that he would say that because he doesn't mince words. He says what he feels, he says what it is. It's funny how I want someone that's honest and I'm someone that's quite, I won't say anything I don't always say what I want to say just out of, I always be thinking about the person, and sometimes it's good to do that, but I do think it's good to also be like my husband, where sometimes it's necessary to say something to someone, whether it hurts them or not. You're not intentionally wanting to hurt them, but you're aware it will hurt them because of where they're at, but also you need to free them by saying that thing. So I do admire his honesty at times. So that's one thing I think I realized, that just because we're having arguments and we're going through some things, it doesn't mean that my mindset and perspective have to be in the right place. And that's what I was saying in the previous video. My perspective and mindset were very much of, oh, we must be having arguments, therefore this is going to happen, everything else, I was just making things up in my mind. So definitely engage in strengthening your mindset and your perspective, changing your mindset of one of positive, of one of gratitude, and one of like seeing your partner as not your enemy but someone that is for you and that you're together. And I think for a long time, I think it was very much like I felt like he's saying these things, even though they're honest things, he's saying them to intentionally hurt me, even though that wasn't the case. It felt like that at the time, so I kind of took everything personal, and that's one thing that wasn't good. So yes, and then also vice versa, you can do the opposite where you don't say anything, which was me, because being passive aggressive is just as bad. And I thought being quiet and being like, well, I'm not going to engage in this conversation because I don't like the conversation, hence I'm going to be quiet, which is not good, because that's also still communicating without communicating, because you're stopping that person from expressing themselves. You're saying, I don't want to hear what you've got to say. I'm not going to hear it. I'm going to just ignore you. And I'm just going to not listen to you. And then the person feels unheard. So that's a bad way of communication. So I would say that's something very, very important. Another one is communication. Communicate, 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 like they always say, but communication in the right and effective way. Because a lot of us, I think, will be communicating in either we're too aggressive or harsh, or we're too honest, sometimes too often, because it's good to read the room as well. And then sometimes someone doesn't communicate at all and thinks that being quiet is effective when it's not. So it's reading the room, knowing your partner, talking in love, speaking in love with the person. Obviously, when you got conflict and got lie, some of it just goes out the window. But in those moments, I think you do have to say, Holy Spirit, help me, because you also know how you are. So that's one thing. That's another thing I would say that I kind of learned the first year of marriage, making sure my mindset and perspective were in the right place. Communicating was very important in changing the way I was communicating, because the way I was communicating wasn't being effective, and causing more arguments probably than I was thinking. So yeah, that's one thing to kind of remember too. The next thing is to have fun. Having fun is good to have, because you still need to date each other. So I think sometimes when I'd already obviously been dating my husband for quite a while before then, so I thought just like marriage was like, oh yeah, at least I've obeyed the Lord now. It's great. And I think in my mind, I kind of was like, yeah, we can have fun, but I didn't prioritize it as much as I did when we were dating. And it's easy to forget when life happens, especially when you are married and you're having children, etc. Like, it's easy to forget about having fun together, doing things together, having those funny moments, just being silly. And I think for the first year, we did have those moments, but I don't think I prioritized them as much as I should have, which obviously isn't good for the relationship either. So making sure you prioritize each other, one-on-one quality time, not just time where you just kind of like, yeah, you're there, I'm here, and then that's it. Like, it's one of them where you do need to have quality time where you can spend together, where it's uninterrupted, it's you together, and that's one thing I would advise for the first year. And creating memories is another thing, I guess. Creating memories with in connection with having fun, making memories, and trying new things. Trying new things. Don't just get to the mundane, because I think familiarity breeds contempt. Is it familiarity breeds contempt? I'm not sure. But sometimes you're familiar with someone, you can just be like, you're here. Yeah, we did that before. Yeah, oh, okay. And obviously that's not good in a relationship. You want to continue to have fun with each other, continue to enjoy each other's company, try new things, just be silly together. Those memories. It's weird how now, I've been with my husband for like 7 years in total, and it's like the things that we did years ago, I'm like, wow, that was that long ago. And even then you think about it, it's like, oh God, I remember that time in our life, like we just started dating and this was like this, and it's crazy. And it's weird, it's because it's now, I realized, when you are in marriage, sometimes you get to that point where you're just like, oh, I just want to be on my own, because he's always there, or she's always there, I just need space to myself. Watch when they need to leave for work for a night, because your girl's clutching onto her man's leg like he's leaving for a year. I am telling on myself, and I hope my husband don't see this. He will literally use that against me. But before I show him, he knows that I'm like this anyway, because he's working away right now. I was like, don't go, please, like, let me come with you. And I know he won't do anything, but I just literally will miss him. Like, just knowing his body's somewhere in the house, downstairs, in the kitchen, I don't know, in the bedroom, usually downstairs. When you're with someone for so long, their presence you just miss their presence. And I guess it's very symbolic of, I think, Jesus, of how he wants to always be in communion with us. He always constantly wants to be around us, be with us, and I think that's what it's like for him. Like, if we're not spending time with him, or we kind of like put him in the shelf. Lord, I've been guilty. I'm guilty. And we just kind of like, yeah, Lord, I'll see you soon. He's probably the same, like yearning for that same presence, because I feel it when my husband goes. I'm like, oh, it just feels empty, like he's not here. Or like, I know that I won't be talking to him, but it's just like I want him around. I just want his presence. I just know he's here by him being here. Like, he's just knowing that he's sat downstairs. And yeah, it's just strange sometimes how certain things I'll see, I'm like, oh, it's very symbolic of how, I guess, the relationship that us and God have, and how he sees us. He wants to constantly be in communion with us, constantly to be in proximity with us, which is just wild and crazy and lovely, and yeah, it's just great. So, but yeah, it's one of those things where you will get to a place where you do enjoy each other's company so much that, you know, if they leave, you don't like them to see them leave. And I used to see this when couples would be like, oh, my husband's going away for 2 weeks. And I'm like, it's fine, it's gonna be all right. Like, he's only going for 2 weeks or a few days. And now I understand it. I understand that you don't want that separation. And yeah, it's just incredible how it's the same thing, I guess, of God did not want that separation from us. He wanted us so close to him, and hence why he brought us Jesus to die on the cross for us. So symbolic. Hence, see, everything with the Lord is always connected, and that's why I realized with God, there's always something intertwined with anything that he does. There's just there's nothing that God doesn't do that is just like, oh, it's a coincidence. Oh yeah, how's that? It's just, oh, it's a coincidence. It's never a coincidence. Everything is so intricately entwined and connected that, yeah, even my own brain can't always comprehend how intertwined everything is with how he's created everything. So yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Beautifully complex to my mind, but beautifully what was it? Revelatory was the word. Beautifully, like a great revelation of the Lord in his understanding, if that makes sense. But yeah, so I will say that's one thing. And I guess that the main thing is to just, when you're going through the difficult bits, is remembering your why, remembering the good things about that person, not the negative or the bad things, because it's so easy to focus on the negative when you are in those dark moments, and when you are, sometimes just not in the great space. It's so easy. And I realize sometimes when I see, like, if he on myself, I can see that I'm in a tension, I'm in a bit of a mood, I'll clock it quickly and be like, okay, if he's in a negative mood, I'll clock it quickly, so then I can be like, Holy Spirit, whatever's trying to create like an argument today, like, I want to bind it now. So you just have to have that awareness at times, because sometimes I can just feel there's a shift, and at times he's tired, and that's it. And in those moments, you just have to be, I think, kind, loving, and understand that everyone gets tired, and if there's a tone that you don't really like, just be like, you know what, have the grace to be like, he's tired. If I'm tired too, I'm snappy. Not always taking everything seriously, because I know sometimes when we're all emotional, it can just feel like, how dare you talk to me like this? And it's easy to do because we all do it, but sometimes having that grace. And marriage is constant forgiveness. Like, I never knew this, but it is. Like, you don't think of it like this, but it is. It's constantly forgiving that person. And sometimes it's not you, it's forgiving yourself too for the things you said, you've done, and forgiving that person and having the grace to forgive them. And sometimes it's not even literally, it's not their fault, but for your own sake, just say that you just forgive for your own sake, because sometimes it's your fault. The Lord's probably looking at you like, you need to forgive. You need to be forgiven because it was your fault in the first place. But we always don't see it like that. So I think it's just having the grace of being like, Lord, reveal to me whatever's in me that needs to come out. And don't, it's a dangerous prayer. I'm just going to tell you that now, because the Lord will reveal. He will reveal, just to let you know, and you'll be like, what the hell? So I never knew I had that in me. Don't worry. Like they always say, marriage reveals what was already in there. So when someone's like, "Oh wow, you've changed," when you got married, it's like, no, it was always in there. But what happened is when you got married, it was pruned out, because you now seen every single bit, because you've either angered them to a point that they've now shouted at you in a way they've never shouted at you before, or you shouted back at them like you never did before, and you're like, oh God, where's this come from? Like, I never thought I had this, or I'm not an angry person. And then you realize that maybe you do have some anger issues, but you just made them lay dormant for such a long time because you were someone that kept quiet, or someone that was just you avoided conflict. So that's the thing of avoiding things. You don't know what's actually in you because you've run away for long enough, and you think, oh, I'm not like that person because I avoid things, and it's only when the Lord's like, yeah, but I need to bring it up, because until we bring it up can we actually work on it. And I think sometimes people think that, oh, let me just press it down, and then if we pretend it's not there, therefore then it's not there. And it's like, no, the Lord needs to bring it out so then he can work on it, so then he can remove it, and rather than have it lay dormant and continuously affect you, and it rises and then goes down, it rises and goes down. So it's just a learning curve. Like, you're constantly learning about yourself. Like, in marriage you will learn about yourself more than you thought, in a different way, in just so many ways. So I want to just say, marriage is not for the weak. I'll tell you now, like, it is not for the weak. It is difficult, it's not always easy. There's good moments, there's happy moments, but the main thing is, I'm always going to give you more good moments than bad moments. So keep your perspective, keep your eyes on the Lord, and just, be in prayer for one another. Like, when my husband leaves, I'm constantly like, Lord, protect him, keep him, cover him, whatever he does, whether he's going out, he's coming back in, be with him. Like, I'm constantly covering him, in any situation. I want him to succeed, I want him to increase, I want him to do better than me. And that's dying to yourself. When you get to that point of selflessness where you die to yourself, to that person, be like, you know what, I want the world for you, good things happen to you, and it's a process as well. And I just want to say, if you are in the trenches and you've just recently gotten married or anything, it ends. This too shall pass. That's it in the word. This too shall pass. This moment will pass. This feeling will pass. It feels obviously realer than anything in this moment in time, but it will pass too. Be in prayer. If you do have a partner that's doesn't believe in the Lord, continue to be faithful in the Lord and trust that the Lord will bring him to him. Sometimes I don't know if that's a calling in itself. I don't know. But yeah, there's some wives out there that end up marrying, or husbands that marry someone that doesn't believe, and then they end up believing. So we never know. So part of me always just think to myself, if I wasn't obviously in my husband's life, would he have ever known the Lord? I'm sure he would have had the opportunity to, but to know the Lord, I'm not sure. So sometimes, even in my younger self, I think to myself, was it because I was away from the Lord that this happened? I sometimes think to myself, was it the plan of the Lord all along? Which I don't know why I'm even asking that, because I'm sure the Lord knew the plan in the first place. But then also I have to understand that my also disobedience can change things, but the Lord will always know. But a part of me is, does always think maybe this was always in the plan. So yeah, we'll never know. But do let me know, guys, below. Like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know if you have any more questions. I think this will be the end of the series, unless there's something else I think about. But yeah, I thought I would let you know on this. I wanted to talk this about with my sister, so I might do another series talking with my sister regarding marriage and divorce, because she's been on the other side of that, and obviously she can advise you on the things that she would do next time. She can tell her story. So yeah, hopefully next time I'll be with her and she'll let you know about her side, and we can compare notes. Thank you so much, guys, for watching as well, and I'll see you.